Hello, my friends. It's Andy Falco Jimenez coming to you live from Yorba Linda, California. And I am the host of the California Parent Alliance podcast and the president of the California Parent Alliance. Make sure and go to californiaparentalliance.org and subscribe to our newsletter that we send out the information as to whether we have a new podcast out or anything new that may be happening. I have a series of videos on CRT, what to do when you have decided that you're going to go to a school board meeting, what it is you need to know and look forward to and that kind of stuff. And so you might want to go to the website and visit some of those things that are on there. We have a blog that has some articles on the mask mandates and the vaccine mandates and and of course CRT and a bunch of other stuff. So make sure and go there. What's interesting about this show is that, I've been telling you a lot of things that are going on in the Placentia Yorba Linda School District. Why? Because that's where all my kids go. I have 5 kids in that school district, 2 in elementary school, 1 in junior high, and 2 in high school. And then I have an adult daughter who also went through the Placentia Yorba Linda School District. And so, of course, that's the district that I know about and talk most about. I feel fortunate because it does seem to be one of the better districts in the sense that we have 3 conservatives on the board and then 2 liberals. And so at least much of what it is that we want lately since 2020, we have been able to get some of the stuff done. It's still, oh my gosh, it's still a bear. We still have to battle all kinds of social media stuff. I don't know if you know, recently, if you've not listened to the show lately, I was called the leader of the douche lords, which is, I did not even know I was nominated. I thought it was actually pretty cool. But that's something that somebody was calling me, and I don't know, they thought I was leading this whole march against CRT and a bunch of other stuff. I'm just one of the parents. And it just so happens that I have this show that I do in the podcast. And so, and that's not half of it. I mean, some of the school board members, Leandra Blades, she has been called an insurrectionist because she happened to be in Washington, D.C. on January 6th. She's been called a racist, and she's a former police officer. And so they hit her really hard. But when I go and visit these other school districts, like I did last night, Chino Valley Unified School District, I just go, oh, okay, well, we do have it a little bit better than some, because even the Chino Valley Unified School District, which I look at it is because I've lived here my entire life. I'm 60. Don't tell anybody. I know I look like I'm 30, but I'm 60. And so I remember that as a farm town. And I think of it almost like Texas. And there's a little bit of me that thought, well, I'm going to go over there and it's going to be a whole bunch of conservatives. Wrong. Although in the audience we did, because a lot of Calvary Chapel Chino Hills parishioners were there. The audience surely was full of conservatives and conservative Christians, but their school board is the other way around, where they have what appears to be 3 liberals and 2 conservatives. And it seems like they're fortunate to have those 2 conservatives that seem to be making enough waves that is causing them to really take a look at what's happening in their school district. Well, I have the good fortune, I had the good fortune of running in to a candidate who's going to be, she will be replacing one of the liberals on the school board. And I wanted to bring her on and talk about what it is that what it is that brought her to run for the school board and some of the things that she's experiencing. And then I wanted to be able to talk about what happened last night, because it was a full house and standing room only. And so I want to bring on Sonja Shaw. How are you?
Hi. Good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
I kind of surprised you there.
I know. I was like, whoa.
I took a breath.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Sonja, it's so great to meet you. We met at an event in Anaheim at is it Influence Church? I don't know why I always forget the name.
Yeah.
Influence Church. I should know, because Phil used to be the pastor at Yorba Linda Friends Church, where I went for years, and then he left there and opened up his own church. But and I did attend there a few times. But it was a great event with Dennis Prager.
Yeah.
We happened to be sitting at the same table, and you said, I'm running for the school board at Chino Valley Unified School District. And I'm just so happy that a conservative Christian like you, who loves God, that was there to listen to somebody like Dennis Prager. I know that you are there to protect our kids. So would it be okay if you just told us a little bit about yourself so that we got to know who you are before we get into the next discussion about the school board.
Yeah, of course. So I grew up in Chino Valley. I was born in Chino Hospital. I guess babies don't get born there anymore, but
Oh.
I was raised here for most of my life, minus 2 years in between. And I married my high school sweetheart, and we've been together for 23 years. We have two beautiful, amazing girls. One is 12 and the other one's 14. I have two dogs, and I'm also a unpaid caretaker of my father.
Oh, wow. Look at you.
I say I raise him, but
Yeah.
he was, my mom passed when I was 9. So I think it's the least that we can do is take care of our
Wow,
parents.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And you were when we were talking about when you were going to come on, you were getting ready to do some photography. Are you a professional photographer, or what's that all about?
Okay, so jobs, I don't know,
Oh.
you name it, I've done it, or I do it just because I've always wanted to be a full-time mom. But with that, I mean, you know, with the way that things are these days, you need two incomes. So I've always tried to find a way out of the corporate world, because I used to be in it before the kids, to do work. So I'm a trainer and a physical fitness trainer, and I do photography on the side because I can kind of balance both of those and still be there for the kiddos.
Alrighty. So then let's go into this. What's happening throughout the world? Parents are have woken up, and they've become aware of some things that were happening in our schools that for the longest time we just took for granted. That obviously, if somebody wants to be a teacher, if somebody wants to be a school superintendent or on the school board, they must love kids and they must be doing the right thing. And so we just made this assumption that everything was okay. How did you decide that you wanted to come in there? Was it did you find that they were loving our kids and taking care of our kids?
Oh, it's been a struggle for the past year. I think these past 2 years revealed a lot. I was the mother that volunteered for 2 kids in their classroom, anywhere from art masters to PE to room mom. Most of the time, all 3 of those things for both kids. So I just trusted, like you guys, you know, like we just trusted that our kids' best interests were in their hands until the last 2 years. I really truly believe God allowed a lot to be revealed before it got way worse, right? So that's kind of where we're at right now.
So what do you think was the motivating factor that you decided that, this is it, I'm going to run for school board?
Okay, so we found out here in Chino Valley, I'm sure you guys had maybe not similar things, but with the ESSER funds, it tied our kids into a lot of things that did not make sense and was not technically for their safety if the school districts took that money. And when things no longer made sense for their safety, we started questioning the why. Our school district in particular added a 30-minute to their day without really letting the public know. But in reality, it was more of I hate saying it, teachers union deal that they did with them to give the teachers a raise. I wouldn't even say a raise, compensation for doing the extra 30 minutes, but the teachers were due for an increase. So I think it was their sneaky way of using that money, which is heartbreaking because our teachers do deserve the pay, but obviously they used the kids' money to do it.
Yeah, well, don't be afraid to call out the teachers union. I've been doing it now for about a year on the show, but between the California Teachers Association and we have Apple down here for our local school district, and they're all over the place, and they just simply are evil organizations. They just are in it for themselves and the power. And essentially what I have come to discover, and many people have, not just me, but is that they really are a PAC for the Democratic Party. That the money they're raising really has very little to do with schools. It is the means to getting money out of the teachers. They are bullied into paying. They believe, some teachers, I think, that they have to be in the union, and I've learned most recently that they don't have to be in the school union. I have teachers here in the Placentia School, Yorba Linda School District, who have opted out of being in the school union. And so, as far as the school unions go, I cannot wait until we are rid of the teachers unions that are in our school districts.
I agree with you.
Yeah, it is. I don't know. It's just where we are in this world. So much has come to the surface. since
Yep.
COVID, and all kinds of things. I mean, not just in the schools, but in our governments and local governments, that kind of stuff. And I don't want to get too far off track, but local politics is really where it's at. That is where we have lost, um, our 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 bearings, I guess it is. I couldn't think of another word of what it is that is happening in our communities. I've learned so much. I'm gonna give you this reference, and this is where my mind was going. I was thinking, well, should I bring this up or not? I grew up in the city of La Mirada, California, which is not that far away, and I was not aware of much crime. I didn't even know what police really did. I knew they drove a black and white police car around, and occasionally got a cat out of a tree just alongside the firemen. And they helped little old ladies across the street, because I just really didn't see crime. I didn't see these shootouts in the street like they had in LA. And I go, the cops around here really don't seem to do anything. And so I don't know how it happened, but I became a police officer with the city of Anaheim. And then it's kind of like the same thing where now I'm in the patrol car, I'm out on the streets, and I did nothing every night but respond to crime after crime after crime. It's because I got more exposure, and it came to light. The evil in our community came to light because I was in a different position or in a different role. Do you kind of feel the same way as a parent that, we just thought everything was being taken care of, but as you dove deeper into what was going on, the evil stuff that's going on just became more and more apparent with the light?
Yes. Okay. So first, thank you. Thank you for keeping our community safe. That's a big
Thanks.
sacrifice. And thank you to your family also, because that's amazing. It shows that you're a true servant. But I couldn't agree with you more. So it definitely was like blinders taken off of our eyes, right? And I can't, it's just so bizarre and scary. But I think more now than ever, we realize that we cannot allow these people to continue in the direction that they were if we care about all kids, right? Because, like being an involved parent, you and your wife, your kids are going to be okay because they have you and you're protecting them and you're guiding them, but not all kids are. And I was one of those kids, along with my siblings, that we counted on everybody else to fight for us, because my dad worked 7 to 7 days a week, and my mom was gone. So I think it's really important right now that parents start stepping in, and I mean, it's only obvious they're trying to push us out more and more, right?
Yep.
And it's for a reason. And I think now more than ever, we need to get in there. Most of us didn't know what it involved, but I think the beautiful thing was, when, at least for us, when we started getting involved last year and they pushed us out to our local politicians and everything, we were already learning the job without knowing we were going to be doing the job soon, right?
Right.
So we have hands-on training, which I think is amazing. And that's not by accident. So, yeah.
All right. So right here, I'm going to bring up the school board members that are at the Chino Valley. And I'm so sorry. I go to Calvary Chapel, Chino Hills. And every time I say Chino, it always, the word hills always follows. So excuse me if I blurt that out on occasion, but it's Chino Valley Unified School District. And these are the current members. We have Donald Bridge, Andrew Cruz, Christina Gagne, James Na, and Joe Schaefer. Just for a point of reference, Andrew Cruz and James Na appear to be the conservatives on the board. And I heard them speak last night, and everything they said, at least from what I heard, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, and I just want to talk, because we're going to talk about last night's school board meeting that I attended, where you and I were there together, that they seem to be in a place where they understand that parents need to be involved, and it is about the kids first, and about education, teaching kids how to read, write, count, and how to think, not what to think, but how to think, that they understand that role of the school board. But we have Donald Bridge and Christina Gagne and Joe Schaefer, who appear to be on the far left side of things based on what it is they said last night, and do not understand that. I did not hear that at any point in their in any of the speeches that they made, or any of the discussions they had of any of the agenda items that I was there for. There were some discussions after, so they very well could have got into some areas that were more pointed towards the kids. And the only time that they did anything in regard to a child in the school, and I say child, but it was a high schooler who happens to be is the student board member, who was wearing a mask. Out of all the people in the room, she was one of the only ones wearing a mask. If not, I think there was 3 people, and she was one of them. And she sounded a lot like one of the, I don't know, like she sounded very much like I want to say AOC, but I was trying to look for a different word. But man, she's been indoctrinated like nobody's business, and I'm sad. I'm sad for her. She's so young to be so indoctrinated and sitting there with the mask on, and could not understand why parents were so involved and cared about whether it was AB 2223. Do I have this correct when I kind of identify the people that are on the board? And I know this kind of, I'm so sorry, I'm talking a lot here, but it flies into the face of separating people in categories. But at this point where we are right now, we have no choice but to point out what it is their political leanings are, because there's one political party who's hurting kids, and there's one political party who wants to bring kids up, make them smarter, and make them viable grown-ups once they leave high school, and the other ones really don't care. So now back to you. Do I have this about right? Since this was my first school board meeting there, I want to make sure that I have the characters right.
It's absolutely amazing. In one school board meeting, you pretty much hit it right there in the middle, right on the dot. You couldn't have been more accurate. It's really sad too, and unfortunate with our student school board member, because throughout the year, she didn't represent all of the children. We had kids come and speak in large numbers, and it was totally ignored, and which is sad, because you're supposed to balance all of the kids, right? All of the students that you represent. And it was always one-sided, and it broke my heart, because it's like, that's not the division that's being created, wasn't supposed to happen. For instance, we had some high schoolers that go to the same high school, and they sat out for the last 6 weeks before the masks were lifted, and they didn't get to go to class. They were told anything from get the H out of my class from teachers to a lot of horrible things. That makes my heart beat so fast, because these are still children. And one of the teens in particular came up to me and she said, "Sonja, it really hurts because that particular school board member was in a chat that was screenshotted and sent to this child. And they were just talking about how stupid they were, and they can't believe they're doing all this over a mask and this and that." But when you're in a position that you represent all students and all of your classmates, I think it's unfair that you didn't even advocate for all of them. You were very choosy, and that hurts, because it's like, you're supposed to balance that, right? I mean, even our board members, you just said it. It's been a struggle, and we really tried hard to make alliances with them and work with them, and we were just constantly shoved out. I mean, it was nasty. We would be the only ones showing up to a board meeting, and you would have these other people that would send an email or whatever. I don't know. I've seen posts on the Facebook and stuff that people would share with me, and it would be like, "Oh, you guys aren't, what do you call it? The masks," they would state it or whatever, "but you're not pushing it. You're not making them." Well, then they started putting us outside in the cold, and these people weren't even showing up, and they were complaining. And here we are freezing outside, sometimes sprinkling, and the system to hear the announcements were horrible. And it was so divisive, and it was so just nasty. It's like, it didn't have to ever be that way, right?
Yep.
The person I'm running against called the cops on one of our parents in regards to something, and they went to Calvary Chapel looking for her because she was at church. Or not, they didn't go to Calvary Chapel. She got a call while she was in church. Oh. And she got a couple calls from, I guess they went to her mother-in-law's house, and then they ended up at her house because he said he was threatened by her, which in reality, the threat was that we were going to do another uniform complaint for what he was doing in regards to the masks and everything else. And because they would never give us a bigger venue. You guys were there last night. Our venue doesn't hold very many people. No. And we said, with as much people are coming, can't we just move it to a high school? We had to fight them to get some of our meetings at a high school. I mean, talking about getting lawyers involved and processing claims to get that. And most people don't know. They thought, oh, the district moved it for us. No, it was awful. Well, anyways, the cops ended up showing up and he knows better. He was a police officer. Right. He wasn't threatened, and he never did feel threatened. So it hurts, because I mean, her kids, that's a scary thing for a police officer coming to look for a mother. it was ill intent. And trust me, we love our police officers, but
Right.
why even try to create that division between parents and them when you already did it? You're trying to trickle it down in the city, and that's not okay. And that's where it was like, enough is enough, right? Like, this needs to stop. I get it if things are not, you're not able to do something, but it's the way that you respond and the way that you proceed and the way that you seek help for people who are coming to you with a problem that truly shows volumes. But when you're shutting things down, you don't want to listen to them. You're closing out meetings. You're putting it in a smaller area. You're putting them outside. What does that show you? There's no working with anybody.
Now that happened to us too. They pushed us outside and it was freezing cold and all the same stuff. We had probably 7 police officers there every time.
Every
lieutenant
time.
the lieutenant, and then they had another sergeant supervisor, and then they had, I don't know, 6 or 7 fire personnel there, security.
It's embarrassing.
What is going on? You guys are crazy. I brought up Joe Schaefer's picture here, and again, he's not a small guy. And is the woman that he was afraid of, was she like from like just a big, I don't know, a bodybuilder woman that he's I mean, I don't understand. I know Orange Police Department. I had a contract with, I mean, I'm pretty sure I know who this guy is, but I can't believe that he was threatened by a woman. Not that women aren't threatening, because I mean, you guys are kind of scary sometimes, but that he felt physically, scared of this woman.
I mean, she's 5'7". She has a tiny frame. And she's just a mom. I mean,
well,
no,
she's a terrorist. I mean, based on the federal government, we are terrorists because we care about our kids.
And I think that's what it is. They knew they can get away with it, so why not push it, right?
Yeah. Oh, just so shameless.
Yeah, it's awful. It's really sad.
Wow. I want to talk about money really quick, and because this always is brought up in the schools, and it doesn't matter if it's Chino or it's Placentia or Belinda, that it's always about these budgets, and they always have all these things going on, and then they're spending money. Like one guy who was a supporter of Black Lives Matter Corporation, who had Instagram posts of him supporting, defunding law enforcement and a whole bunch of other stuff. They were bringing him on for one assembly at one of the schools, which is the continuation school within our community, and they were going to have him speak for an assembly. He was charging $60,000 for that one, and the liberals were all for, let's just pay that. And then I was also at one point, I was the vice president of the PTA for Golden Elementary, and we had to find a way to raise money so that the kindergartners could have balls for recess. And then when I heard they were going to spend $60,000 for this Black Lives Matter supporter to come speak at one of the schools, and we had to raise money for balls in Placentia, Yorba Linda School District. I mean, none of this makes any sense. They're insane. Obviously not raising money. They're taking this money that the federal government, the state of California gives them, and it's going to friends of the teachers unions. I mean, that's what my take is. Somehow they're getting, obviously the support on their political campaigns as their terms come up, that's what all this hunger for money is. We're having to raise money for the kids, yet the money that's coming in, they're using for indoctrination. They're using for other programs that are related to getting them reelected because they're doing what it is the Democratic Party wants them to do. Does that seem like it's the same way over there at Chino Hills too? That is not, or Chino, yes, I knew I was going to do that. Chino Valley too, that the money is not going for the benefit of the children's education.
Well, yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is we felt the ESSER funds and all that money that could have been used towards our kids was mishandled, right? That was our biggest claim. It's like, listen to what the kids need. Let's put the money there. Why are we using it for all these other things that make no sense? And I mean, we fought hard because we knew that they were going to give the money. They were going to take the money no matter what. So then it was like, okay, what can we use it for? And we fought hard to get more money taken away from the air filters because I can't even explain how much money they were going to use on that. And it was unnecessary to put that much money in. More for the mental health part, but not into the emotional learning part. We wanted like events and things to happen for the kids to bring like some fun and excitement back. And we've been advocating for that, and it's just ignored. And it's sad because it's like these kids need to feel some normalcy again. They need to feel some joy, and they need to be excited about going to school. And right now there's so much division. We have little kids that we're coming out of it, but the damage is still done, right? The wounds are still open. We need to start repairing those things. And if we don't do things actively together and start listening, the parents and the school district working together to say, hey, this is what I think the child needs. Okay, let's work on this, right? There is none of that. And I'm shocked with the speaker. Thankfully, we have not had anything like that. I think each district is unique to what they are using the money on and using money on, even in the past. But that's another reason why we feel like, one of us parents needs to get in there and get our hands wet with that, because we want to make sure the money is being allotted to the right things. I mean, we have teachers that truly, and staff members that truly deserve, a raise, or we need more aides in the class, right? Our class size is insane. Like, I think a TK class one of our TK classes has 29 kids. Why is that even allowed? 29 kids? Those are under the age of 5. How is that even okay? And these teachers have no aides and no help. And to me, like, why aren't we focusing our money on those things? But yet we're buying new equipment, and we see our equipment being like sold at or get I guess they sell like all the extra equipment within less than 2 years. We know what technology goes out, right? But we're starting to see a trend that a lot of equipment's being sold on pallets. And it's like, what are you buying and what are you getting rid of? Right. And does it really need to be upgraded? Why aren't we using that money, if not on something else? I mean, we've asked the questions, but we get ignored. So why are you hiding an answer?
Absolutely.
There's something to hide, right?
I see that there's people on. Make sure and comment to let us know what it is you think about what we have to say, especially what Sonja has to say. It's important to hear from you guys. If you have any questions for Sonja, make sure and put them in the comments. And whether you're watching live now or you're going to watch the replay later, it'll pop up, because I think Sonja has shared the broadcast. So she will probably see your comment too. So if you're watching the replay, tomorrow or the next day, please make sure and comment. The speaker that I just spoke of, that was in a consent, place where they were going to vote on like 30 or 50 things all at once and just say yes to all of them. And so they tried to hide it. But again, thank God we have somebody like Leandra Blades, who is one of the people who came on and said, no, we need to talk about it. Don't just pass like 15 things on the consent without talking about this. In addition to, in the answer, to talk about, what does a teacher do when they have no aides? They're putting them on these online programs in the school. So we're sending the kids to go to school to do online training, and they're going, how much is this costing us? And it's something, again, like $100,000 or two. And so we could do that at home, which we don't. We want them to go to school to learn from somebody who can listen to what it is they're saying, correct them for mispronunciations, or throwing in the word "like" after every other word, which my high schooler does right now. And I'm teaching him to put a rubber band on him, and I'm going to snap that thing every time he says the word "like." And I sit here and I think, see, this is what we've lost. My teachers all through my, growing up, they would have said, would you stop? You sound stupid. Stop saying the word "like" after every 2 words. But online, there's nobody to do that. There's nobody to correct some of these things. Now they correct, the machine or the way that it works. It will correct the wrong word that you input, but there's really no teaching going on and no discussion. And so I don't even know where I was going with that thing. I'm just so frustrated half the time. So you have to forgive me, but I just get so angry of these things that we look at and say, where is the money going? Can it not go to better quality teachers? Because many of them are good, but we have many of them that we're finding out they're not teaching what it is that they're supposed to be teaching. They're busy telling our kids that they're racist. They're busy telling some kids that they are oppressed and they need to blame the kid sitting next to you because he's white. That is where we want our money to go, to improve the education and the ability of teachers to teach our kids the things that they need to be taught, not into these other things. So that's the end of my rant. Do you have something to respond to on any of that I just said?
I think it's accountability right now, right? Because we know more. We know what's going on. I met with our superintendent twice in the past 5 days. And the second time was with the person who's in charge of our curriculum. And it was because we caught wind that the 1619 project was being taught at one of our schools. And I was told, well, what specifically is wrong with the 1619? What is it specific? And I said, okay, first of all, we know you cannot, and thankfully we're able to learn things now on what it is, right? And I feel like the whole Judy, you're the oppressed, and Brian, you're the oppressor, they don't straight out say that. Most schools don't. What they'll do is they'll teach their theory and their ideology over a period of time, right? Showing that the white people created the history and created the systems to help the white people climb the ladder and put everybody down. So they're very strategic. These people who created these programs that are these curriculums called the 1619 and all these things, they're smart in a sense where that's not going to, on the surface, it doesn't look bad. But over the period of time through the classroom, that's what plants the seed. It's like a pastor getting up and never using a Bible verse, but you know he's talking about God and he's talking about the Bible, right? He may not specifically put the Bible verse in there, which I technically don't like, but he may talk a whole sermon and never bring a Bible verse, but we know what he's teaching, right? Right. And that's exactly what they are doing. And then they're coming to us and being like, okay, then what is it specifically? And I'm like, what do you mean? What is it specifically? It's an ideology and it's a theory, and I don't think it should be taught. And if it is, in all fairness, tell the parents it's being taught. Why hide it? Yep. Why are you so scared? Sure. And their response to me, the system is supposed to look like this in our district. If a teacher brings something in that isn't in our framework, right? They have to get it approved by the principal. And then if it is something that is controversial, a notice has to go out to the parents. So my whole thing was, okay, maybe they didn't specifically teach anything. We'll give that to you right now. I'm not going to get into fighting about it, but it is controversial. I guarantee it's controversial, right? And I said, in all fairness, where's the notice? Because I can tell you the parents that came to me with the worksheets and stuff, they didn't have no notice until they found out it was being taught, right? And then they were like, well, and then, they said they couldn't go back to the teacher and blame her for doing something if they don't have specifics. And I'm like, here we go again. So my whole thing was, okay, then just let the parents know that the teacher's teaching 1619. Just be honest. You don't need a specific. And if she feels it in her heart that it's great, then let her have the conversations with the parents. I don't need to go.
If it's so great, why are they hiding it if it's so great?
Exactly my point. But the point is I feel like as parents, we need to not just go into a boardroom yelling, oh, you're teaching 1619, because then you are going to create a lot of hostility again. And we're trying not to do that. It's to do the legwork behind the scenes, make the meetings, sit with the principals, maybe the principal didn't even know. Maybe the teacher didn't go through the proper, way of doing things. And this is what I told them. The past 2 years, when we were in that pandemic and things were being taught from home, this, and the other, we know our world is completely divided, right? We know that it's this way, and people are, whether you like it or not, the teachers are teaching in their point of view, right? And we have a lot of amazing teachers. Don't get me wrong. I'm not anti-teacher by any way. Right. But during that time, I feel like you have a yard. And during the last 2 years, all these weeds are growing over. It's time to reset and take those weeds out, set the boundaries, because we know we all need boundaries in any job. That's not saying anybody doesn't know how to do their job, but you need to set the expectations and the boundaries, because I feel like the weeds are growing over right now and enough is enough, and let's clean it up. And if you want us to help, guess what? We're going to do it. And even if you don't want us to help, we're going to do it. And if you don't let us, we're going to find a way. So no matter what, it's like, either work with us or we're going to find a way to make sure that these kids are safe and they're learning the basics. We need common sense back in the classrooms, back in our school districts, and we need to stop focusing on all this other junk. The CRT, why is that even a thing? Our kids are failing in math, English, regular science, and regular history. Why are we bringing in all these extras right now? We need to go back to the basics and get rid of all this other crap. Stop teaching kids about sex and this junk too. I mean, that's parents' job, right? I think. I don't want anybody teaching my kid about any of that. What if they don't tell her the way that I want her to learn? Right.
Well, they don't. I mean, they're saying it's okay to get an abortion. It's okay to get an abortion. Yeah, we'll take you there on your recess.
We had a high school send out a flyer and it was by Planned Parenthood. They had a program. Did you ever hear about that program where they were seeking sexually ambiguous teens to be ambassadors for their program? what in the wild world is anybody thinking that's okay? I don't care what side you're on. That's just wildly insane and gross. These are children. And if you can't see that these people are just breeding on these kids and just using them, then there's something bigger wrong, which we know it is. But that's why I feel like more than ever, we need to get in there.
Well, we have people like Randy Weingarten, who's never been a parent. So these people don't have this, they don't have that, right? They don't have that in their heart, and they have no way of understanding what it is that we are even talking. Like, why are you so concerned about this? Well, that's because you don't have it in your heart. You don't have parent heart. All right, really quick. I just want to get this because I've been want to just get through some of these. First of all, somebody said, Liz Duncan said, you're an amazing photographer. So
I took her kids' pictures tonight. She's my friend. I love her.
Okay.
I call her Sarge because she's a retired sergeant.
Char Marie's here. She's an amazing warrior in our area over here. She's awesome. Brandon, sorry about your name there, but Brandon Gomez, how is your race looking for November? We'll get to that in just one second. Joelle Mancuso, she's running for the school board up in, and I hope I get this right, in Westlake area, I believe. I could be wrong, or Simi Valley, somewhere up there. I had her on my show about a month or two ago. And she says, and get a load of the new California ethnic studies, right? We just had that dropped in on us, and Placentia Urban. We'll be looking at that pilot program. 1619 is now hard history. And Joelle, yes, I started talking about putting cameras in the classroom last year or 2 years ago, and you should have seen the look in the faces of the people when I brought that up for the very first time. And now there's other programs starting with people that are fighting for cameras in the classroom. We had a speaker at California Chapel, Chino Hills, who spoke on that issue and why she thinks it's important. These extras dismantle, and that's the point. Conejo Valley. I knew I was going to get it wrong. I can't keep all these places straight. I'm sorry, Joelle. I got so many. I got Moreno Valley. I got some people in Temecula that I'm interviewing, and all my candidates are starting to get confused in my head. But Joelle is Conejo Valley. A couple things that you talked about. I want to use your analogy here about pulling the weeds. Sometimes, and I think this is going to be necessary with us, is that we have to take a rototiller because the roots are so deep, and it's been going on for about a year. With what I learned from Miseducation, which is a documentary on Fox Nation. Now everybody on the left's going to groan because it's from Fox Nation, but that documentary was well done. It talked about how this has been going on for a very, very long time. This isn't new. It's just that we just always assumed again that the right thing was being done. And so it's just more. It's so deeply rooted in our education system that we just going to have to take a rototiller to the whole thing and make some huge changes. And so that brings me to a question. I'm sure you have something to say, but I just want to say, or I just want to ask, can you, I don't know if you have your elevator pitch already made or anything like that, but what is it that you would be able to tell some of the people watching that may be in your district, what it is that you're going to bring to the school district, maybe in addition to what you just said, or to restate what you said? But what is it that you're going to bring that's going to be different than the members that we have on there? Or what's his name? Joe, what Joe has to offer.
Yeah. I think honestly, first of all, I was running it. God gave me this thing in my head, December, like this burning fire of hope, because I'm the president of our local advocacy group over here. So when I was praying about it, even before I found out I was in a trustee area that I can run for, it was, how are we going to be able to have hope right now? People are jumping ship. People have lost trust. It's just our kids were hurting. They're still hurting. There's so much damage done. And it was like hope, right? Hope. What involves hope? Bringing back common sense, bringing back the basics, bringing back somebody who is going to question these things coming down from Sacramento or fight them before they do come down to the parents, right? Because when you're in a position like that, you have more power to call up to the state and your local elected officials than a parent walking into their office. We know that because we've had some amazing local elected officials that have done nothing but amazing things to help us parents, and other ones that will not meet with us and clearly say that parents are unprofessional and they want nothing to do with them. So I think honestly, somebody who will listen, somebody who will just get their hands wet and start questioning things instead of just being a signer on the dotted line. Like you said, one of your board members, she stopped a speaker from coming in there because she was able to see in a bundle, in a package, that there was something wrong. But if she would just have done what everybody else is doing and not challenge it because that's easier, then those things are let in. And that's exactly what we as parents for the last year have gotten the training to do, right? Not knowing we were going to run for school boards and this and that,
Right.
because we see the problem. So we're already trying to do those things at a parent's level. And I think now it's really important to get in there and start doing it at a higher level where we have the authority to make that decision. We have the ability to make those decisions or help encourage decisions or help push back to Sacramento, right? Because if we all see something's wrong and our boards, which you know, refuse to push back or even send a letter saying, hey, we represent our constituents, we think this is going to be toxic or not helpful to our students, they refuse to do that, then what's going to happen? We just allow them to do whatever they want up there. And we can see it's totally anti-parent. It's totally trying to make these kids theirs, right? They're trying to own them. And I think we need people in there that are going to do everything possible to stop that. And that's exactly what I've been doing. And that's exactly what I would do, because I don't want to make any promises that I wouldn't keep. I'm already showing our community and other communities that I'm in there. I'm going to be in there. I'm not going to stop. If we need somebody to go up to Sacramento, by all means, I'll be there. I mean, I thankfully I was blessed to be able to be provided with the trip, but I went up there to fight that bad bill. And I mean, we need to do those things, right? If we can. And if you can't, then you need to support the people that will, because the encouragement, the help, just the showing up and being a body in a room, those things are what we need, because guess who's coming after us? The enemy. And I say the enemy because we know exactly who these people are controlled by. It's the enemy. Yep. And we need prayer. I mean, our kids need prayer. We are in this together. I never say someone's on the front line. Sometimes that comes out, but it's not. We're linked arm in arm. It's just a matter of what God has to put on us in that play, right? We all have a part. All of us have a part. And I think that is extremely important right now.
That's awesome. I wish I had, where's my applause?
I have the dogs all breathing in the background. So if you hear heavy breathing, it's the dogs.
So, oh gosh, I have like 3 or 4 things that I want to make sure and hit before we go, but you brought up prayer. And I want to bring up something that happened at the Placentia Urban School District. Somebody tapped me on the shoulder and said, hey, before the meeting gets started, and our room is larger than yours. And so we have maybe about 100 and something people inside this room. And it's clearly divided between, conservatives and liberals. That's just the way that it is. Yeah. We call them we're many of our group is wearing red, and their group is almost entirely wearing green. So we call them the greenies. Oh, wow. I'm working to get that all stopped, but I got tapped on the shoulder and said, Andy, would you mind, praying, stand up and announce that you're going to pray before the meeting. And when the lady who tapped me said, this is, because people know who I am because of this show and some other stuff. So she goes, Andy Falco is going to stand up and he's going to lead us in prayer. And as soon as she said that, the green people just groaned. And it was this very demonic, like, no, you can't. It was like, I thought I was in one of those horrible movies that like The Exorcist, because I had brought God into the room and the evil was just dying. And there was one lady yelled out, call the police. You can't pray in here. He's got to leave. And the room kind of just got very loud. Well, I was a little nervous, I just I don't pray that often. I prayed before our show today, but this is not necessarily, has not always been who I am. But as soon as I heard that, I knew I had to pray. Like I wasn't, they get out of the room. You can't pray. I said, no. And I started praying, and you just heard this like, I'm melting type. I promise you, I thought that it was all in my head. I thought I was making this up because it was so surreal. And then about halfway through the prayer, the room went silent. Strangely, and it was very strange because it I could kind of hear it in my head and thought that's weird, but I kept the prayer going, and then eventually we said amen. But there was the reaction is what I want to talk. It was this huge reaction last night. Now to you, last night, you were your name was called because you put in a card to speak, a couple times, and you came up on one of those times, and you said, you know what, I need to pray for, we just need to pray for you people, because you people are, you didn't say this, I'm adding words, but man, we need to pray for you guys because something is not right here. There's some evil going on. And you began to pray. How did that, did you get the feeling from the Holy Spirit? Is it something you've done before? But what has been the reaction of bringing God in these school board meetings on your end of things? On my end, it seems like it's not welcome. What about you?
It's definitely not welcome. They're definitely after us because they know we believe in God. And if any of us attend Calvary Chapel, which my family has started at the beginning of last year, we are Jack Hibbs equals Sonja equals Na equals Cruz. Those are the other two board members equals this. And it's like, do you want this person? Right. And I'm like, Charlie Kirk is what it said or something. And I'm like, oh my God, like it's just so sad because it's like, I have friends that are non-believers. I have friends of all walks of life. We should never, ever separate ourselves from anybody. And it was funny because with the AB 2223, we've all been fighting it in the way that we're called, right? At the board meeting, I prayed to God. I always pray, like, what do you want me to say, God? Like, what is it? Because we're human. We mess up sometimes, and I honestly was on my knees like 4 times, like, God, what do you want me to say? I have no clue what you want me to say. I know what you're doing. I know where you're sending me. I know what you have me actively doing, but what do you want me to say to the public? And up until 5 minutes before the board meeting started, it was weird. The Holy Spirit just said, pray. And I was already praying in my head. And I was like, wait, you want me to pray up there? They're going to attack me if I pray. But I was like, you know what? Every time I'm in those meetings, and this is the honest God truth, I always pray for the evil to be exposed and removed, right? Exposed and removed, and protection. Exposed, removed, protect, right? Because it's like, just get rid of it so we can actually be human and think here. And there's no spiritual war, but we know it is. But we have to constantly be putting on that armor and asking for those things. And when he said pray, I was like, okay, let's go. I didn't even know what I was going to say, but when you pray from your heart, the Holy Spirit leads you, and I don't even know what I said. I just prayed what was there, what I was led to say. And I didn't feel like weird or bad. It just felt natural. And I think when you're praying, it should always feel natural. And if people hate us because we love God, then I mean, by all means, that's what we're called to be, the light, and not forceful. But last night, that room needed some out loud demanding that those spirits leave, because it was pretty intense, Yep. And we already kind of had a feeling what was going on. Yep. But yeah, no, I felt led to pray.
Okay. So I want to talk about AB 2223 in just 1 second. That was a vote to have a resolution as a school board. Was the hope that the school board could say that we are against, or I say we now because I was over there, but AB 2223, that the school board of the Chino Valley Unified School District opposes 2223. That was the hope, and we'll get to that in 1 second.
Yeah.
But I had a guest on who was actually the person who called me the ignorant douche lord. I had her on my show as a guest because we ended up having a discussion, and in the end, we were now friends. And she goes, awesome. You know what? I did not realize that you are not a bad person.
That's beautiful.
And I go, I'm not. I mean, but she goes, you know what? And as a matter of fact, she goes, I now listening to you, I agree with a lot that you have to say. And so it completely switched it over, which is only God.
Yeah.
It is only God.
Thank you, Jesus.
But in one of the things that she was concerned about, because we have the opportunity, because we only have to replace 2 of the liberal school board members, and the 2 candidates that we're supporting are conservative Christians. And that would make it 5 Christians on the school board. And so she goes, I'm concerned about that. And I said, and she goes, so what does that mean to have 5 Christians on the school board? And I said, it's not that we want to make the public school the church. We have our churches we go to.
Yep.
But just like our country that was founded on biblical values, is that I think anybody, whether you're atheist or Muslim or, who knows, whatever it is you are, that having a school that runs off of biblical values is something that everybody can get behind, because it's the rules of right and wrong, morality, not bringing sex education away this pornographic, starting at kindergarten or even younger, and what is it called, TK, and up. That these are the reasons why anybody, regardless of who you are and what your faith is, that you want those types of teachings and those types of morals that go into the decision making of a school. And so I want to caution everybody that may be watching that although we talk about prayer and we talk about, God and Christianity, that I would like to believe that you would like that in your school, that we're not necessarily, okay, children, open up your Bibles. I know that would rub people the wrong way, but you do want some of the morality and some of the biblical teachings, just like our country. When it runs in that way, our country, our country cannot be touched. It's the greatest country on the planet, and it has been for a very long time. And as you can see right now, it is not one of the greatest countries right now. We are struggling as a country. So may I have your take, if it's any different than mine, or what you think about that thought, because it's going to be brought up. We don't want another Christian on the board.
It's already been brought up, but I couldn't agree more, because here's the thing. We're not trying to open the Bibles and teach it. We understand if we want our kids, well, if we're able to, we send them to private Christian school. But also for me as a parent, I want my kids in the public system, because I feel like they're supposed to, and this is not for all kids. We have to listen to the way our kids are too, if they're struggling or they're hurting. But for me, my kids are in a position where I feel like they can handle the diversity, the differences. And also I want my kids to be a light, and I want them to have friendships. And I want one day for those other kids to ask, why was she kind? Why did she help me? Why was she there? It's not to be like reciting by a teacher, reciting Bible verses, right? But the way that we respond should automatically show people where we're coming from and where our morals and values are. So as much as they want to say, 5 Christians, because that's kind of what it's looking like for us too, or 5 believers, it's scary and dangerous, and they're going to make it like a prayer thing, and they're going to make it a Bible study and all this. No, we're not. We're trying to get rid of the filth that all of us should agree that shouldn't be in the schools. Right. Like I said, we're not trying to bring the Bibles in there. We're not trying to do anything. If somebody wants to come pray during public comments, or wherever they allow it to be, because anybody should be able to pray wherever they want, but it's not to be praying like this or that. But we also look at the Pledge of Allegiance. My high schooler tells me that half of the class sometimes is sitting. Like, how disrespectful are we as a country to our flag and to our founding fathers and to our very own Constitution? Like, that is hurtful. We should, as people, whether you're Christian or not, believe that there's a big problem, and it's because we're taking out those morals and values, right? I mean, if anything, I have people who don't believe in God, and I love them just as much, if not more, and they know that, and we have healthy conversations. That's the way it should be. They should be able to come to me and say, hey, my kid's hurting, or I would like this, or what can you do to help with this? And I should be able to help them regardless of my religion, right?
For sure.
My religion helps me make the moral decisions, but I think that should be a comforting thing for parents, to know that they're not going to have the filth that we as a state, as a district, as a community, we shouldn't want those in our school, right? I mean, that to me is common sense. I mean, but if not, then I feel like there should be an actual separate school for everything that they're fighting for.
Yeah.
I heard somebody say, oh, well, if you don't want the public system should be about sex ed and this and that. And I'm like, wait, why? That's just so weird.
Let the kids have
these things.
Yes, let the kids have their moment of just having fun without this nonsense.
Like, we learned the anatomy and all that, but I feel like back in the day, my teacher didn't do anything to make me feel like uncomfortable. I mean, it was uncomfortable because you're a kid, but nothing like weird. What we're seeing now.
Yes, the books they held up. The books they held up in last night. I'm so sorry. The books they held up in last night's meeting with these are elementary school books that she was holding up that show, pubic hair and the nonsense. I can't go into too much detail, but I can, but I'm going to not do it. But it was essentially pornography in a children's book for elementary school.
I will clarify, those are not in our school district yet.
Okay.
Those are at a local public library, which is still disturbing,
Yep.
but they're not in our school district. Our school district for a long history of time has been pretty conservative, but the last 2 years we see things filtering in. I think parents and grandparents bring those things because they're scared because they are in other schools and other districts. And that's what we're trying to prevent, right? And I would think any parent, no matter if you believed in God or not, would not want those books. I would hope to God they would not want those books in the classroom. Those are freaky.
Yeah. You go to LA, you'll probably see something a lot different.
Oh, that's where they come from.
So really quick, I'm sure some of the people signed on and now we're almost at an hour. I can't believe we're already at an hour. But AB 2223, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Please tell me his name. James Nah. James Nah brought an agenda item to have a resolution that says that the Chino Valley Unified School District opposes AB 2223 to make a statement. It wasn't going to do anything in regard to the votes in Sacramento. It was just they wanted to clearly make a statement that this school district was against it. Yeah. And there were some arguments that this is not a school district issue, and there's some other arguments that they were wasting people's time. But I thought he made a really good, valid point. I was wondering how he was going to make it fit myself, but it got voted down to not have the resolution. Of course, the three that we already pointed out that they're liberals said, no, this is ridiculous. Your people are crazy. And I believe that the James and Andrew Cruz had they made some really good statements. So I did go live from there. So if you have a chance, go through, wherever you're watching, it should be on there. And just fast forward until you get to the part where we're talking about it. But they made some really good points. What were your thoughts on whether that should have been brought up at the school board or not, as far as AB 2223?
In all honesty, in the beginning, I'm like, oh my gosh, here we go. Because we're already so divided right now. And I'm like, this is only going to make it worse. But here's where, after listening to him and asking him, because I'm learning a lot from them and how things work, not just in our district, but let's just talk about our district in particular. It is so divided that it's almost like people are desperate for help, right? You see in the state level, they're not listening to people coming in. They're putting notices. I was there. They put notices on the door. They called the guards on us. I was with the pastor that was really soft-spoken, not like our pastor, more firm. This guy was very soft-spoken, very gentle. And I was with a bunch of older people, and they were so sweet. And then when the girl came out and said, you have to leave and blah, blah, blah. And we're like, wait, we just want to tell you our position. And then she closed the door on us. No, you can't. We're closed. Then they put notices on. And then she called the guards because we knocked again. That right there sends people into a panic because they already know these people aren't listening to us. So it sends everybody in the position of where they think people have some kind of power or voice to go ask for help, right? So these are our kids. This isn't a thing about the right to a woman's whatever. This is like a live child that they're talking about killing. So as much as it in a normal pre-COVID would have probably never hit a school board, I can personally see why it was there. And I mean, in all honesty, at this point, I feel like as humans, if we can't all stand up to murder and something huge, there's a problem, right? Like there is a huge problem because I don't care what you believe about pro this or this, which side of the fence you are. This is a human life. And I think people are so desperate right now because we constantly have been shut down by these people who are making decisions, that people are sent in any way that they think somebody holds any kind of power higher than them to be a voice. And that's what I think in my heart that James was trying to do. And I mean, it was just another way to send it back up there and say, please, please, please stop, right? Because these things are insane. And I mean, I'll be honest, I as much as I want to have hope, I knew that one was going to be voted down. There was no way those ones were going to put their name on it. One of our board members in particular is very highly tied into, I hate even saying the Democratic Party, but into the extreme progressive left party. And there was no way they would put their name on that. Even when it came down to the vaccine thing that we asked them to send a letter, she made sure it was on the letter that she put no, because there's no record that she wanted to have that on there. And that's kind of how my thoughts were on that. That's why I didn't know what to say, because God already had me doing stuff for that bill. And that's when I was just led, we need prayer. We need prayer and continuous prayer about this.
So, I knew it was probably, I mean, once I started to hear a little bit of people, I knew it was, I didn't know the makeup of your school board until yesterday.
Yeah.
But once they started talking, and Joe being a police officer, he knows what murder is. I don't know how he had the view that he had. It's just, I don't know. I'm not, I stopped myself from saying I'm shocked, because so much has happened over the last couple of years. I'm so not shocked about so many things. It's like, oh yeah, go figure. But here you had a police officer that just has lost his way. Yeah. And our kids need protecting. As a few people said last night, that our kids need to be loved.
Yes.
And cared for. And the student board member that was up there, I don't necessarily believe that it's not, because I can't remember his name. James was saying that maybe she didn't have parenting. I think those were her parents that have led her down this road, in addition to the teachers, unfortunately, because she had so many things to say that were not of this planet.
And that wasn't the first time.
Yeah. So strange. Sorry, just really quick. I wanted to be I was also encouraged last night by the number of Hispanics that were there, and were just amazing warriors. Would you just teach our kids how to read, write, and count? They go, what is this nonsense you're teaching? I had a gentleman, an African-American guy sitting behind me, who was going, what the heck? CRT is evil. He's like, oh, what are you writing? And so it was so great to see the minorities, I guess we should call them, in that room, that just were like going, we don't want any of the stuff that you white people are trying to put upon us, because it was really only the white guys, Gagne, clearly a white person, Joe, clearly a white guy, that were bringing up these issues, and the Asian guy, James, and then you had the Hispanic board member, and then all the people there that were just saying, you guys are nuts. We want our children educated. And I think that's where they're wrong on a lot of these issues. They really think they're trying to, I don't know if they're really trying to do anything, really. I mean, you have this DA in Los Angeles who could clearly see that a black man on stage was attacked with a knife and a gun and refuses to press charges. But yet they say that they're doing this for the minority community. They're doing nothing for the minority community except for hurting them, in addition to the people on our school board. Another rant that I'm going on right now. But my encouragement was from the people that were in the room that were using translators to speak to the board members to knock it off. And how does that speak to you? Do you speak Spanish by chance, or do you?
I don't. My mom was from Illinois. My dad's from the Middle East. And I don't speak Aramaic or Arabic. I wish I did.
Yeah, because I'm just wondering if it wouldn't help if somebody had that ability, other than just one possible school board member there, to really speak to the Hispanic community. And I know the Hispanic community is huge in Chino. Yeah, that to reach out to them and hold some meet and greets and meet the candidates. I think that would be really important, to find a translator that could work with you to go into that community and to speak.
So, what's really cool is, in this, we have met some amazing people, whether they're community members, parents, even city council members in Chino, and they've offered to do that and help. So that is the most beautiful thing, because I think we all need to be linking together, right, to get the word out and to also inform people what's going on, but also inform people why we need the change, because they may not know, because no one's giving it to them. But just to go back a little bit, we fought hard for more communication and more parent engagement. That was where we wanted some of the money that we got from the state to go to. And even though as much Christina and them fought against that, we were able to get that, because it was either pretty much, they already knew they were deep in it, or they can allow some of that money to go in. And James Knott and Andrew Cruz, they pushed super hard with the parents. They were listening to the parents, and they put more money into the parent engagement center. Now we're praying to God that money starts to get used so they could hold more bilingual things in their events to inform parents of stuff. So, I mean, even coming into this as prayfully a board member, we can push for those things to actually happen, because we haven't seen many of them yet. I'm not saying they're not working on it. I don't know what it involves because I'm not in there at that level, but we were pushing, and we still are pushing for that parent engagement, and obviously to have it more in person to them in their areas that their kids go to school in.
Cool. Very good. All right. I'm so sorry I kept you longer than an hour, but remember earlier we were talking about, well, how long do you think could we get it done in a half hour? And I said, right? No, you and I both like to talk. So
yeah,
the likelihood of that happening was slim. Any last things you want to cover that I didn't bring up, or that you just want to expand on, or anything like that?
I just think, if anything, just continue to link up. Don't give up. Even if you pull your kids out because of a safety issue, I totally understand that. But remember, this is our communities. This is our state. This is our nation. And we cannot just get up and run away. With safety, I understand you have to pull, but you still serve a purpose in the bigger fight. Don't just take your kid out to homeschool and don't have any involvement. We have some parents who are homeschoolers. Actually, most of our advocacy group pulled their kids out of school, which it breaks my heart. But in the same token, these mothers and these fathers are the biggest advocates for the kids still of the public system, which is beautiful because they're still involved, because they know this is bigger than just their child, right? This is huge. So that's why even with your district, Philip Chen, our assemblyman, he got us connected with Courtney in your district. That's how her and I became friends, was during a meeting. He brought us in. Hey, Sonja, can you talk to Yorba Linda Placentia? And then it just blossomed from there. So, and we have other parent groups all across California. I think that still needs to continue, because the more we link up, the more parents get onto the school board, we can link together and fight the bigger issues at a more powerful level, right? Like we could stop it because there's more of us in there. And I think that is where we need to really, truly focus on, is getting those right people in there, bring back common sense, and bring it back to the basics, because our kids are suffering and the education has been lost. Amen.
And yeah, Joelle told me earlier that she wants me to give you her contact.
Yes, I was going to say we need a contact. I was going to go find her on the chat search. Yeah.
Just really quick, what Joelle said here, what has worked for me, take video snips of crazy stuff your board does, or great comments, make and post everywhere. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we just got to stay active and not give up. This has been a couple years now. I think I'm going on my almost 2.5 years now of being involved in when I first showed up, there was me and maybe a couple other people in the school board. And now we have full houses every time. So stay involved. Just because we got CRT banned in Placentia Yorba Linda School District, that doesn't mean anything. It's just the beginning. We have a lot more work to do. So, and you guys too, as you continue to knock some of these things down and play whack-a-mole, another one's going to pop up, and you're going to have to continue, because they just think, oh, they'll go away now. No, we're not going away.
We haven't went away. Never missed a board meeting since we got involved, right? And the board meetings are nothing in comparison to the work that's being done behind the scenes.
Yep. And you rock.
Oh, you rock too. We all rock.
Well, Joelle said you rock, so I just second the motion. All right, my friends, we love you guys. Pay attention to what Sonja's doing and support her, and find her on Facebook. Do you have a campaign page up yet or anything like that? Okay.
Sonja Shaw 2022 on Instagram. I'm sure if you search me on TikTok, those are not my videos. Those are just what is being made of me. So find me on that. If you want my personal one, if you come from here, I will allow you to be on the personal one. But my name on my personal one is Sonjia, but my legal spelling is Sonja, and my last name is Shaw. So find me, ask me questions. Please link up. We need to be linked up all across California. That's so important. So please don't feel like, just because we're in Chino, we can't be friends and work together. We need that.
Absolutely. All right. It was awesome.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you for having me.
Bye, guys.
Bye.